Have you ever experienced something bizarre while ghost hunting? Can a smell instantly tell you whether or not you're in danger? Is it possible for a face to shift into another? Today we test the believability of the old man's face.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
That's right. Whoa.
Okay,
boy.
we're back in the attic,
Yeah.
and then the voice crack comes back. I like that.
Yeah, we're in the attic again.
For at least one more episode, I think, after this.
We'll see.
It is toasty in here.
It's warm.
The August heat.
In
I can
August, Ohio.
already see the graphic for this episode. I'm just going to go on Canva and just put old man's face, and the first one I see, it's going to be our graphic.
That's right.
Some grandpa-looking dude with a mustache.
Sitting
in a sweater vest.
Oh, don't make him look too sweet. It's not a nice
It's not
little
up to
man.
me. It's up to the algorithm on Canva. I have no control.
All right, so we have a listener submission today
Yeah.
from someone who actually did a theatrical reading for us, Leanne.
Hey, Leanne.
So I'm really excited to bring this one to you because it's pretty cool.
I've never read this. I haven't heard anything about this, so I'm very excited.
Because of how we do our listener submissions, like we get them and we file it away
Forever. Until they come out again.
until they come out, and we look at them, and one of them reads us, and the other one is very unaware of what's about to happen.
I think somebody who's left us a bad review one time didn't know that was the way we do things, and they thought, I don't know what episode they're referring to because it's not based on the episode, but they thought one of us was just significantly unaware of the topic. You know?
That could be.
Which they were like, why did this guy even show up? He doesn't know shit about this. But it's like, that's just the way we do
That's
it.
how we do it.
It's probably some like Chupacabra where I'm just like in the dark.
Because
we did the quiz.
because you're surprised with the audience.
You're playing the part of the audience when those 10 times come. So
Yeah.
I think it's funny because somebody must have just jumped in and was like, they're not both knowledgeable about this. This is dumb. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah. I enjoy
funny.
those reviews where it's
Yeah, not that it matters, but just because we were talking about the back and forth, it made me think about that. But I'm excited to get to this story.
it's I don't know what do they say. They would say something along the lines of frogs and crumpets. It's a doozy.
Oh, it's from there.
Oh yes. It's from there.
Those people.
This does take place. It takes place in Caldicot, Wales, UK.
Wales,
So,
yeah.
you know where Wales is, roughly?
UK, roughly.
On the bottom.
Yep.
The bottom section.
That's where the whales are.
Very
They're too heavy to be at the top.
very close to where the hairy hands take place.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if like in that general area, but
Hopefully this one's generally a little bit more real than the hairy hands.
I mean I believe her.
Okay.
It's about ghosts.
You're already going believable. All right, we're 4 minutes in. Let's
kind
go.
of do, yeah.
No, we've joked about that before, or we talked about it somewhere. Maybe it was our cool.
We talked about it a couple
If
places.
something's just a traditional haunting, not always. We've gone skeptical. There's proof.
Yeah.
But you definitely get the benefit of the doubt if it's a traditional haunting. But I want to hear about this because the lead-in question has definitely piqued my interest.
It's interesting because it's not traditional in the way of like she lived in her haunted house. It's traditional of the fact that she became a ghost hunter. Not to get too spoilery.
Well, you said ghost hunter in it, right? In the beginning?
Mm-hmm. She becomes a ghost hunter. And well, I don't want to spoil the whole thing.
Well, it's the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, you can tell the story.
I'm just giving you some preamble, I guess.
Okay, here's how it ends. All right. Just, you're going to look it up anyways. There's people that do that. My wife is one of them. She'll go on Wikipedia and read the end of a
if I'm
movie.
really anxious about something, I will look something up. Like I was listening to a podcast and I really wanted to know what happened to one of the characters in D&D. So I looked up. I was like, does this character die? And I found out my answer. I kind of regret looking it up, but I'm also like relieved I'm not just like waiting for it to happen.
When we were going into the new Star Wars at the time, The Force Awakens, and I didn't hear it, thank goodness, but Claire heard someone say leaving about Han Solo dying.
Yeah.
And she was just like, even though she probably was a little relieved deep down, I don't think she'd ever admit it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't look it up then in the theater. Although
No.
some shenanigans hooligans probably do.
Shenanigans.
Not what I meant. I meant hooligans. Yeah. But let's get to the ghost hunting.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So Leanne says she is 35 years old. I don't know why she decided to tell us that.
She's probably like 40 now by the time we got to this submission.
So this happened in November of 2016. She said, quote, "I've been listening to your podcast for a while now and love the mix of stories and humor. Thank you. Not everybody does."
She likes a what?
Mix of stories and humor.
Yep.
A mix.
It's not an exact recipe every time.
No, sometimes a little bit, a pinch, a little bit. Dashes.
I always put a dash of football in there. Just a dash.
It's like a garnish. She said, "I have an experience that I cannot explain. It almost made me want to give up being a paranormal investigator." Almost. Leanne has always been fascinated with the paranormal, and she would watch horror films as a kid, and she still loves to be scared. So when she found out in 2015 that you could actually go on events in supposed haunted locations, she jumped on it.
Do you have a strong urge to do that?
No. Do you?
No, which I think is interesting. I have very vivid memories from being like 15 and watching like Ghost Hunters and just thinking how cool it was. And like I truly believed all of it. And it was just like, I was so bought in, and it's very vivid. And I think it imprinted on me. But as much as we talk about these scary stories, and as much as I love horror films, and that was my gateway to doing things like this, I enjoy when we go to the cemetery and do that. But I'm not like itching to always do it.
Well, in my head, I see there's lots of cool things that can happen. But I also think of like all the terrible negative things.
Attachments, things like that.
Not even just that. You're in a dusty, abandoned building.
Why's it gotta be hot?
It's
because it's hot right here.
Yeah, this place is not hot. Imagine what it's like in a basement right now.
Cool.
Okay, an attic right now. It's probably boiling in there. Unless there's a ghost.
Unless there's ghosts, then
it
makes it cold. So
yeah,
that's maybe that's how we should know there's no ghost up here.
That's true.
Just maybe it's not a ghost. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Okay. So she started paying to go to locations like the Ancient Ram Inn. Have you heard of that one?
The Ram Inn?
Ancient Ram Inn.
No.
It's supposed to be this super haunted place in London, England. Not London. I'd like to do an episode on that. And 30 East Drive, which is also a very, very famous haunted location. That comes into play in a little bit. And she loved being in the dark, senses heightened, wondering if something was going to happen that she could not explain. She said, quote, "I started out being a diehard scaredy cat believer at the beginning." End quote. TV shows reinforce this idea that every time she'd be going out, she'd be getting scratched and pushed on every investigation. Honestly, this didn't happen. Most investigations consisted of a lot of waiting, sitting around, and begging for the spirits to do something.
I wonder, and maybe she is, we haven't got to it yet. And obviously, if she has a story, then there's more than this that happens. But I wonder if you went to like 5 investigations and nothing happens, if you start questioning whether or not you're sensitive enough. You're using equipment, so it's not all reliant on your feelings, although I feel like some of the best investigators are able to rely on their guts, instinct to a certain degree. That would be part of my fear. Like if I went on 5 paranormal investigations, I think like the reason we kept going is because our first one was so memorable and something happened.
Yeah.
But if nothing happened that first time, after like 10 times, I'd probably be like, maybe we're not good.
Just tack it in.
Yeah.
I wonder if that would be the case.
I like that the way she kind of painted that of being like, I like being in the dark, senses like going and not knowing. It makes me think of, in a very boring way, like fishing. Like when you put your fish in and you're just like your senses, and some people like drink and do whatever, but like when you're so focused on the tip of your pole, and it's like it could go an hour could go by and nothing could happen, but you're still invested in it and you're so hyper fixated on the tip of your fishing pole, and maybe you'll get a bite, maybe you won't. And obviously, fish biting is very different than a ghost saying like just go back.
I don't think it's that different.
It's a little different.
Well, I mean, in the way you're describing, and one's just in the way you're describing it, I think you're correct.
Yeah, I just mean like the anticipation and the not knowing, but the being prepared, like that type of a thing. Because I like when we've done scary things, I definitely do relish in that, like what could happen, but also it's like a lot of things you don't want to happen. But I don't know. I'm curious to find out as the story goes on, which I'm sure you'll get to. It's like maybe any sensitivity she has, or like kind of her way of going about the ghost hunting.
Yeah. She said, so it's only natural that a lot of people attribute non-paranormal occurrences to ghosts and spirits. which makes sense. You know, you're in the dark, you think you hear something, it's probably a ghost in your head, right? She also started to notice that critical thinking was lacking in a lot of investigators. So that's where some of her skepticism started, because she noticed that people weren't thinking critically.
We just got a bunch of dumbass investigators out here.
Well, they get excited.
Using magnets and things like that.
They get excited.
No, also they want it. And there's a bias. If you're an investigator, that's not true. Some investigators, you're hoping that you're going to get something. So, it's kind of like the actualizing it to actually happen, where it seems like she's doing more of like, not the Warrens, because I feel like their rep has kind of gone
downhill for sure.
But like the way that the Warrens are portrayed in films, where it's like they try to disprove it first, right?
Yeah. Okay. So she said, quote, "I feel like it's relevant to mention how my beliefs change over time, as I don't ever want to be accused of exaggerating things or not thinking out possible natural causes." End quote. So Leanne ended up joining this local paranormal events company in the summer of 2016. And they would hire out locations and sell tickets to members of the public who wanted to have ghost hunting experiences. They had the usual equipment, a K2, not sure what that is, a REM pod, spirit box, that kind of thing. So before the night in question, she also experienced something bizarre. So this is the first night. She said, quote, "Me and Becky, a teammate, had just arrived at 30 East Drive, a well-known Yorkshire haunted location, full of rumors of a poltergeist activity," end quote. So that is the home of the Black Monk of Pontefract, which is a really well-known paranormal case. And I think one day we will do that one. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what actually happened.
Sure.
And by too much, I mean none.
Okay. Look it up if you want to know first. Be like all those people who go on Wikipedia and look at the end and then come back to us.
Yeah, we will do that episode one day. It's a really interesting case. But she continued, "It's a very strange, intense story about a poltergeist and a family that you'd lived in Yorkshire. In the middle of August, so the sun was shining and the house didn't yet possess an eerie feeling. It was like a time capsule, though, still stuck in the 60s. Brown sofa, dated kitchen. It's like walking into your nan's house," that's what she said.
I like that.
"It's a semi-detached house, and you collect the keys for the house from the neighbor next door. And she'll tell you about how she hears the paranormal activity and how it affects her family's lives." Anyway, so, quote, "Becky and I had just got the keys and entered the small home, and we walked into the kitchen and sat down at the dining room table. We had a couple of large cases of paranormal equipment and was taking everything out of the box to check to make sure they're all working and put in new batteries. The dining room was still bright. It was only 6 p.m., and I was sat down at the dining table, lifting out a pack of new batteries, and about 2 feet away from my face, I saw a small ball of light appear and then dart off into the ceiling as fast as speed. The ball of light was solid. It was as if someone took a fairy light from the Christmas tree and danced in front of my face. I questioned what I saw. I asked Becky if she had seen the light, and she said no. It couldn't have been a reflection from a passing car headlights because it was still light outside. It wasn't a light from our equipment. It was an independent light source, and bright. Very bright. To this day, I have not witnessed anything like that. If it was a mirage or an eye issue, surely I would have experienced it again. Question mark. Question mark.
Up inflection?
Anyway, I've never actually seen a mirage before, so I don't know what it could have been. A visual orb? Who knows? So that's what happened at 30 East Drive. Let's talk more about what happens after the break. Before we keep going with this episode, we want to stop and we want to tell you about this podcast we find really interesting. It's got this really unique concept. It's called Let Me Tell You a Scary Story.
Let Me Tell You a Scary Story is a paranormal podcast hosted by Anna Rose, who reads out true life creepy stories every Friday.
So these stories have happened to ordinary people all over the world and simply cannot be explained. They range from ghostly hauntings, glitches in the Matrix, unexplained time lapses, alien sightings, possessions, near misses, demons, doppelgangers, stalkers, true crime, and more.
All right, that's a lot. But not only that, Anna is an award-winning voiceover artist and is sure to hook you in with her excellent, smooth storytelling voice.
So close the blinds, turn off the lights, do it for me and you, turn off the lights.
They're off.
Good. Snuggle under that quilt.
I don't have a quilt.
Well, or a blanket, I guess.
It's pretty hot up here, bro.
Yeah. And enjoy. Let Me Tell You a Scary Story, found on any platform for podcast listening. few months later, at the beginning of November, they had another event at Lanthony Secundae Manor. And it was this beautiful, large, medieval home. Monks used to live there in the 12th century, and it was once owned by Henry VIII, although it wasn't believed he actually visited the building.
Do you have any thoughts on this King Henry?
I'm a big fan. I think he's fun. I shouldn't say that, though.
No, nothing else you want to say?
There's a fun song about him, but
yeah?
Whatever. I'm not going to sing it. No, it's a musical, goddammit.
It is a musical, right?
Yeah, it's a musical. Anyway.
Just like Rent.
Yeah, just like Rent.
It's essentially the same.
I wouldn't say the same. So it was an exposed brick with winding enclosed staircases, bowed floorboards in the first story dining room, and arched oak doors.
Huge. Is it bowed or bowed?
Bowed, same thing, right?
Okay. I don't know.
Huge four-poster beds fill some of the bedrooms, and it really is the most beautiful building. And Leanne, quote, fell in love as soon as she stepped inside, end quote. She said it was very cold and dark, and by the time they arrived at the building, this very classic British day, was overcast. There were 5 other team members hosting the event. They all arrived a few hours early to help set up before the guests arrived. She said they always had amazing guests, and even the boyfriends that were dragged along by their girlfriends made them always feel keen to participate. And this night, they had about 10 to 15 guests, and one of the guests mentioned at the beginning of the night that he was a medium. This wasn't unusual, as they always had a lot of spiritual people at these events, but he does pop up later in the story. So there's a purpose. So we called him John.
John the medium.
He's not large.
Or small.
We all decided to go upstairs and start off the investigation in the attic. We asked the guests to stand in a circle and hold hands, and then go around and introduce themselves to the spirits. We often did this to raise the energy in the room, and would sometimes rub our hands together as you were trying to warm up your hands to create some kind of charge, which I think is kind of an interesting concept. So, like, take your hands and go.
Like the friction aspect of it.
Yeah, I wonder.
It's like, do that, rub your feet on the carpet, and then shock the person next to you.
Yeah. Well,
the emotional response from the pain.
Do you think there's something there? Maybe?
The electricity? I don't
know. Maybe it's just something they came up with.
I feel like somebody could justify it. I would just need to hear it because it's not coming to my head.
Okay.
I would feel like it's something about creating energy. Or like maybe you're drawing something. You're creating an energy that could draw something to you. I
think you're changing energy, right? So you're changing it from like potential to heat energy.
I think you need to shock the person next to you. Then you're causing pain.
Yeah, that's
I don't
right.
draw it.
So it was pitch black, cold, and eerily quiet. We held hands in a circle and faced inwards. I might as well have had my eyes shut. I couldn't see a thing. And then one of the female guests on the other side of the circle let out a groan and said, "Ugh, what's that smell?" I was like, shit. After another guest jumped in with, "It wasn't me," laughter erupted and broke the tension in the room. Then the woman stood next to her exclaimed, No, I smell it too. It's rancid." The smell started to slowly circulate from the person, slowly fading from the nostrils of the person that smelled it before. By the time it hit me, I was overcome with the fact that it was not like a fart kind of smell. It was an actual human feces smell. Leanne said that she had worked in elder care when she was younger, and she recognized the smell from when someone had soiled themselves. So after a second, the smell was gone, and the person next to her could smell it. Another team member who had visited this location before mentioned it was believed that there was a nasty male spirit that doesn't like women, and sometimes when he was nearby, you could smell a nasty smell. Leanne froze. The guests went quiet once we all realized what this felt like. It was as if this nasty male spirit was walking around the circle, weighing all of us up. Leanne imagined him inches away from her own face, scowling. She wanted to get out of that attic immediately. Quote, "The female guest that originally mentioned the smell piped up. 'You don't like women. Well, tough. I ain't going anywhere, shitty man.' And everyone burst out laughing." Jeez. I thought, oh, we have another Zach Baggins type.
I didn't know. She said that?
Yeah, well, she didn't say it. She thought it.
Aaron, throw some soap in the middle.
Yeah. Would you ever have the tenacity to try to amp up a ghost like that?
No, but I would probably make a joke to diffuse the tension.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. If I truly thought there was an entity there, I probably would be quiet. But if I was unsure or if I was scared or I wanted to make other people feel more comfortable, I'd make a joke like that, I think. I mean, maybe somebody did just shit their pants.
Well, the fact that I went around in a circle is really interesting to me.
There's a fan above them.
They then decided to go take a break.
They were like, let's eat.
They decided to take a break and decided to let the guests chill out in the living room area. A younger female guest, about 30 years old, with brown hair and a low ponytail, called Sarah, mentioned that she was feeling emotional and aggressive, but couldn't point out why. She felt the energy from the building was getting to her, so she wanted to step outside and get some fresh air. While the guests were chilling in the living room, drinking their cans of energy drinks, which seemed to be so commonly occurring as an investigator, the event host went out into the kitchen. Moments later, a head popped around the corner, and it was John the medium. And he said, "Hi, I just thought I wanted to let you know that I can see Sarah's getting some sort of attachment from this negative male spirit. If you want, I could always cleanse her at the end of the night if she's interested."
He's like, by the way, he's like, here's my business card. Here's a little QR code on it. If you scan that,
like,
I'll give
follow and share.
Give it free this time. Yeah, if you like my Instagram, I'll cleanse her for free.
Yeah. We told him thank you, and then she said she would speak to Sarah in a bit to see if she was okay. A few hours go by in the event, and not much really happens. The occasional knock or tap, but nothing I can really remember. Towards the end of the night, though, we head up to this small room. It has a dresser and a table with chairs and a staircase going down one side of the room, and a staircase going up to the other side of the room. Guests all huddle up and perch on anything they can. Chairs, steps, window ledges. A team member asks the group if anybody wants to participate in a Ouija board.
I was literally thinking when they were in a circle, and they're doing like the hand things and all this, I wonder if a Ouija board's going to come into play.
The question is usually met with gasps of horror and discriminating grunts and voices declaring, hell no. 2 guests did offer to participate, and one of those was Sarah. She hadn't mentioned too much about how she was feeling, but she said she felt drained and tired. Now, that isn't anything out of the ordinary because when you're staying up till 3 a.m., it's bound to happen.
Is this 3 a.m. right now?
Yeah. Sarah and another guest sat down facing each other on a small square table. One of the event's hosts stood up between 2 women and held a small torch to illuminate the board. Quote, "Me and Becky and another team member named Dave stood against the wall about 2 meters away from the table. I was the opposite side of Sarah and could see her face clearly." End quote. They placed their fingers on the planchette and started asking questions. Not much was happening, but from what I remember, suddenly to the left, Leanne heard the antagonistic female guest yell, "Ugh, can you smell that? Shitty man, are you back?" Everyone in the room burst out laughing, including me. Then in an instant, Leanne's attention darted back to Sarah. But that wasn't Sarah's face. She was suddenly an old man. Scowling, jowls hanging, her eyes were black, piercing into my soul. If someone could say, "I'm going to fucking kill you," with their eyes, then that's what Sarah was saying to me. Quote, "The only comparison I can make is that her face was identical to Vigo in Ghostbusters. The creepy scowling painting. I was terrified. I grabbed Becky's arm, who stood to my right, and she gasped, 'Did you see that? Did you see her face?'" End quote.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Like, how terrifying. And it's not like her facial features seemed to change. It was like,
yeah.
It wasn't like her face morphed kind of into something else. It's like it was a whole new face, like a mask.
This whole new man's face.
That had to suck for Sarah.
Yeah. She continues. She said, "Then Dave, who stood next to Becky, joined in, said, 'I saw it too. What happened?' I can't even say for sure how long this moment lasted, maybe 5 seconds. But then her face suddenly went back to normal. The next moments were blurry. Leanne remembers speaking to Becky and Dave afterwards, and all believe that Sarah had been staring directly into her eyes. But you know when something is making direct eye contact with you, right? So how do we all feel that in the same moment? Person receiving the death stare. She vaguely remembered speaking to Sarah afterwards, and she had no recollection of what happened. The medium, John, took her outside and gave her a cleansing to remove anything that had attached to her. Leanne still questions everything that happened that night. She said, quote, "How was what I just saw possible? It goes against everything physically possible. If I had not had Becky and Dave to share this experience with, I would have easily doubted my memory. Even now, 6 years later, I sometimes doubt what I saw. I know my memory can be misleading and change over time. Although I've told the story so many times over the years that I'm cementing in it. Like how you told your story so much, you know the story more than what actually happened.
Yeah. The story becomes more memorable than not more memorable than the experience, but you start thinking back to how you tell it than reliving it in ways.
She also said, who knows? I know that I have never experienced anything like that since, and I still investigating, still skeptical. So why can't I just shrug off this as a mere loss of brain function? Because 2 other people saw that same thing. And that's the end of her story.
Did John end up cleansing her?
Yeah, he did. He said he took her out of the back and cleansed her, which is...
sounds like he killed her.
It does sound not good.
He's like, we might not see her again, but she's probably okay. Don't come back here.
But that's the end of Leanne's story. Let's talk about it in discussion. Now is the time of the podcast where we like to stop and thank all those for joining the Patreon, joining our little community. We really want to shout out Isa H, Nicolette, and Blueberry Brandy.
I think we know who Blueberry Brandy is.
We do. Big fan of Blueberry Brandy.
I loved that story. So thank you for joining.
Fantastic story.
That was such a good listener submission story. Very, very creepy.
Yeah, but thank you for joining. Like Tyler just said, we appreciate you. We got a couple things we want to tell you about. Tyler, what's one thing they can expect to experience?
All right, I'm going to go baseline here. Because we have 4 tiers. We have the abducted, we have the bizarros, we have the dedicated, and we have the not tier. And they all have their own benefits. They all have their own uniquenesses. And obviously, the higher up you go, the more stuff you get. But let me do the baseline level. If you join at the abducted, it goes a long way in supporting the podcast. So for us, it means a lot. It's only $2 a month. I mean, literally at this point, that's less than a coffee. That's true. That's less than my Pike's Place. So it really helps us out in terms of support. But also, I know some of y'all are probably sick of hitting that 15-second forward, 30. I think it's 30-second back, 15-second forward, with ads and things like that. If you join the abducted tier, in addition to supporting the podcast, you get always ad-free episodes. Every episode is completely ad-free.
Baseline.
And you get the shout-out still. You get our ringtones. And you get wallpaper covers for your phone. All of that just by being in our abducted $2 tier. So that's what I feel like that one doesn't get enough love. And maybe it gets overshadowed because it's the lower tier.
Well, we got a lot going on.
But yeah, so I want to shout them out because it still means a lot. And you still get, exclusive content, because I think for people who might be sick of some ad content and maybe they want the music as a ringtone, it's there for you and it goes a long way for us, and we really do appreciate it.
I want to go ahead and shout out something new that we're going to put out this month called Mailbag. We just recorded this segment about an hour ago. Yeah. And it's where people get on our Patreon and they ask us questions on a post, and from that post we take the questions and we just sit down and we just answer them. It's a very traditional based Q&A, right? Yeah. Like you would comment your question and we'll answer it. It's almost like a AMA in Reddit, but not live. Yeah. I guess it could be live one day, maybe. Absolutely. 100%. Actually, wouldn't be the worst idea if it... We'll work on that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. That's a good one, though. And I think it's cool because sometimes you talk about things on Patreon or anywhere that you don't know if people actually care about. So it's kind of like at least one person cares because they asked the question. It also makes us expand on things that we know. We gloss over. But we haven't talked about. Yeah. So it's like, what's that inside joke that you guys always make? Great place to explain it. For sure. No, that's a really good one. But there's a bunch of other stuff on Patreon. We got 4 tiers, so much extra content. We'll get probably more on that by the end of the episode. But I think those are two good things to look forward to if you're interested in joining. Let's get back to the episode. Leanne gave us a great story. Yes. Here's the thing. She's been a listener for a long time. She's been, a big fan of the podcast for a good time. It's weird to say fan of the podcast. That doesn't mean I'm going to give her a believable just because. We'll see. Doesn't mean. No. I'm getting the more explaining. She's done a theatrical reading for us. We know which is on Patreon. Which is on Patreon. That is a fictionalized story. It's fiction. I mean, some of the stuff we talk about might be considered fiction, but it is purely fiction
with like sound effects. It's very much akin to like No Sleep Podcast.
Yeah.
We put that on Patreon. It's going to be biannual now. And she was one of our lovely readers for that.
She was. Now, that being said,
he's unbelievable.
No, we do.
Fake.
We do buy into ghost stories.
We do.
A lot. This has a bit of almost an extreme element of fantastic. It feels like out of a horror movie with this face swapping thing.
Yeah.
But everything else is very typical of a ghost story.
Basic.
Well,
I'm just kidding. That's
man.
I'm just kidding.
Basic means standard, like you expect it somewhere.
No birds in the walls here.
No, but smells, traveling smells, I think is very powerful. Yeah. What's something from this that is really powerful that is not that face for you that stands out?
It's not the face?
It's not the face.
You're getting rid of the obvious?
Yes.
Well, the main two things are the smell and the face.
Yeah, I agree. So you think maybe that smells. Do you think what I described was not a spirit? Could have been something worse.
So here's what makes the smell hold weight for me, because it really, I don't want to say somebody could have farted.
Yeah.
But I think what really stuck out to me, and it could have just been the way it was explained, so there could be bias in that, but it seemed like it went from person to person to person.
Yeah.
Like two people didn't smell at the same time.
Right.
And so therefore you would visualize it as like a person walking in front of and getting close to each person.
Mm-hmm. So
I think it's not like somebody smelled something, because there's like, obviously demonic and things have that kind of rotten egg characteristic. So, but it's not like somebody smelled it and then everyone smelled it and then it dissipated. It seems to have like a track, and the fact that the scent lingered, but only one person at a time could smell it, makes it seem like it has more intention, or more like there's more to it than just somebody releasing gas and then it just kind of going in the room and just it's there, everyone smells it, and then it's gone.
It also feels like not just like a spirit on repeat. Like it has thought, right? It's not just like an echo.
I wonder if they didn't make the joke and the tension wasn't eased, if something would have happened. Like I wonder if somehow, not like power or energy, but I wonder if her making the joke and everyone laughing, if it took something away from what he could have done.
I think it did.
I wonder if he was going to do something or present himself more, but then the joke and everyone eased up and the tension and the fear was gone. Yeah. Not like this thing's Pennywise feeding on fear.
Well, in a sense, though, it feels off that energy, maybe. So maybe it did take some of that, proverbial wind out of the sails.
I wonder what that person who made the joke, if it was like I'm getting scared, and because when I get scared, I talk out loud and I make jokes. Yeah, that's what I do. And so I imagine if I was in that position, but I don't know if she's somebody who just cracks jokes anyways, or if it's somebody. I wonder if she was doing it to ease tension because she was scared.
I mean, we can't know that.
No, I'm just throwing that out there.
What I would do, I would probably, if I felt the room being super tense, I'd either be very quiet or I would make a joke.
Yeah. And then I guess it makes a comeback right before the face change. So
yeah,
that like just the first part, like in my mind until the details came out, I'm like, it really could have somebody just passing gas.
Yeah.
But then when the details come out and then it makes it a comeback later during the Ouija board. I mean, is there anything other than the smell and the face to really discuss?
Minor stuff happened, like knocks and stuff like that. I mean, that could be part of it. Also could be an old building.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I guess, really.
And I don't mean that as like nothing else happened. I just mean in terms of like.
Those are the major things.
The things that draw to.
But also, this is a pretty fantastical experience. When you were mentioning the face thing, I was trying to. My instinct is to be like, what did that actually look like? And when you think of a film, right? I've always thought about this in terms of our friend Alex, who claimed, and I believe him, to see a ghost at our old dorm. And I'm like, man, there's all these people that watch movies where you see a ghost walk through a wall, and you actually saw it. Yeah.
Like you did not see Hollywood CGI or A24s. You didn't see their computer animation of a ghost walking through a wall. Like you saw the real thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then thinking that now, it's like I've seen films where people's faces turn. I mean, even like Bilbo Baggins, like when his face gets creepy like that. I always skipped that part when I was younger. That was terrifying. But like, assuming this is true, Leanne saw somebody's face. I don't know if she saw a morph. I don't think she saw the morph into it, but she saw the morph out of it.
Yeah.
So my instinct is to think, what was that transformation actually like? But the more I think about it, and I was trying to imagine, like, it was probably so disorienting and so, like, her mind couldn't comprehend. I don't think it's like a clear, her face was this way and then it changed to this. Like, I feel like that transition, that blur, I think just the way of, like, her mind trying to comprehend what it was, I don't think it's kind of hard to explain, because at first I was like, man, like, what does that transformation look like? But the more I think about it and imagine it, I feel like it would just be like a blur in your mind.
Yeah, it is almost like a blank space.
And it's not like you're not ready for it. It's not like teachers like, all right, pay attention, this is on the quiz.
Yeah.
It's just like, it'd be like if you saw a shooting star. When you see a shooting star, it's like you can see the imprint of it in your head, but it happens so fast and it's so unexpected that you can't perfectly, it was here and it went this far. You know, I feel so I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt in that. But that, I mean, I'm being very critical, but at the same time, like, the biggest thing for me in terms of the believability scale for this is it makes a comeback and multiple people witnessed it. 3 people didn't hallucinate the same thing. And I could be wrong based on how it was explained in the listener submission, but it wasn't like, hey, did you just see her face turn into that old man's? And they're like, yes, I did. Yeah. It was like, did you see that? And then they confirmed without her. Like, it wasn't like, I'm going to tell you what I saw and influence you. Yeah. She turned and said, did you see that? Yeah. And they were like, yes, oh my God, or whatever. So
they all saw the same thing without, like, telling each other what it was.
Right. And how could it not have happened and that be the case? If she would have said, did you see her face just turn? Yeah. And they were like, yeah. Then it's like, okay, maybe it happened, but I'm not counting them as witnesses. Right. You know what I mean? No offense to them, but under those circumstances, I'm not. But based on how it happened, I don't know any other way to explain it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious. Why do you think he was so intently staring at them?
Well, those were the only people in front of
that were looking at it.
Yeah,
but I wonder.
I don't know if that was intentional. It could have just been like, so? Well, when he was just a smell, he went to everyone.
That's true.
So I think it was just a convenience of those were the people with a look. I don't think it was intentional.
I don't know. I do think there is something there. I don't know if anything's done intentionally. Imagine how much energy is being put out to do that.
I think Sarah opened the door. I'm not putting that on Sarah. It was already happening. It's the most intentional thing was that it was Sarah. I think anyone in that group, because it was like you were like they were perched here. It seemed like it was a really awkward place to do this Ouija board. Yeah. So it just was whoever was in front of him or her able to see this face saw it. It didn't seem like, hey, if Sarah was like, hey, Leanne, why don't you sit there? And Becky, why don't you sit? You know, it wasn't like that. It was just like people sat where they could.
I just wonder if it noticed them because they were like the people that led this event.
Maybe.
So it was like, you're bringing people here and I hate you for it.
But if Sarah would have influenced it in a way, then maybe. But would he just not have shown his face if it was anyone else? And we don't know.
I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know.
It could have been like...
I am definitely just speculating right now.
Since it is those people, maybe he used the extra energy. He used his... what is the manga? The blue power in like games?
What? Oh, like magic?
But is the blue bar, if you have a health bar and a blue bar, the blue bar is like, what is that called?
Oh, mana.
Mana, not manga. I'm sorry, mana. Mana?
He uses anime. He uses his Japanese books.
Mana. He uses all the mana. He's been saving that up for decades. Yeah. He's just like, these motherfuckers. I'm going to do it. And he hit square, X, triangle, circle. Yeah, and he's like, my face.
I went full Goku mode.
You want to know what smells like shit?
Yeah.
But witnesses, a comeback, it's a haunting.
Mm-hmm. What about that first haunting at 30th Street Drive or whatever it was? With that first, like, it was just a ball. What do you think about that?
I believe in orbs. I've seen orbs. My sister has seen orbs.
Have you seen orbs in person?
Yeah.
In person?
Yeah.
Where?
Not a big one. The cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
And I never remember if you saw it or Ethan saw it. One of you guys saw it with me.
Pretty sure it was Ethan.
I feel like when I talked to Ethan, he's like, it was Charlie, not me. So when you guys are crazy. But it was more like my sister has seen, like she said it's almost been like electricity in the air. Like she's seen that in cemeteries. One of our improv buddies saw an orb in our old apartment.
Yeah.
But the orb that I saw in the cemetery, it almost looked like a laser pointer. It was like it wasn't like a big light orb. It was like a fine, and it wasn't a lightning bug, you know. That's my experience with orbs.
What's interesting about that though is that there wasn't a lot of energy to draw from.
Yeah.
Because winter just ended.
I appreciate that she tried to figure out what the orb might have been instead of spiritual.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do I put a ton of weight in it? Not necessarily, but you're in a haunted place, you see something unusual like that.
A very famous haunted place.
So what do you give Leanne's experiences?
Oh, believable. 100%.
Yeah. I as unbelievable as the face changing thing is, because that's like, so is that possession?
I don't think so. I think it's just an attachment. Because it didn't like use her body or anything.
That's so intense though, because like we've heard way more intense possession stories where even then it doesn't like replace their face. Like this is like, I mean, it feels like it's not her, it's a mask. Like it is attachment where it's exterior. It's not like, it doesn't seem like it's necessarily inside of her. Like it's impacting her emotionally.
Yeah.
But it's not like,
I feel like it's almost like an overlay in like a photo.
Yeah. That's
like a layer.
That's a good way of putting it. Because it does feel exterior that way. But that is still like so intense. You know, like how violated as a person I would feel if someone told me that happened to me, where it's like someone put their face on mine. Like that, I mean, it is very scary. It is intense. It is scary. I wish it didn't happen. Yeah. But if you got 3 people all seeing the same thing without influencing each other, I mean...
You almost have to believe it.
I do.
Yeah.
And it's very scary.
So thank you for listening to this episode, The Old Man's Face.
I think the listener's submission sending us a haunting or a ghost hunting experience bar has been raised.
I agree.
That's kind of a joke. Like if you have an experience, if you get an EVP, if you just see some, if it was just the orb thing, still send it in. I'm kind of joking.
We've had some pretty fantastic listener submissions.
Yes, but in terms of like that was so different. Like now, obviously, it's the entree of the story, the face changing. But there's always those little details in some of my favorite listener submissions. You know, like I always talk about like the hair on the knee, right?
Yeah.
Or like the doppelganger walking in the room. You know, like there's always those little moments. The mom being transparent, walking backwards. Like there's those little moments that I love. And obviously, this one's not a little moment; it's a big one.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that this story is gonna be. I'm gonna remember this story a year from now, easily 2 years from now. Like I'm gonna think about that when I hear when people talk about ghost hunting. And it's not at a cemetery, it's in a house, I'm going to think about that. Especially, I mean, they're playing with the Ouija board, too.
3 a.m, pass.
I wonder what the question was. I wonder what the last question was before the face turned.
I am curious. Although, you know what, though?
Why you smell like shit, though?
Well, think back to Brandy's story. Blueberry's story. With, was the calling from
rock,
the woods?
And what was the sunshine?
Sunshine.
It was like sunshine or something.
Something like that.
Something. And then it was rock. I know it was rock.
Yeah, well, the calling from the woods like at night while they're sleeping.
In the tent. So many spooky
moments.
That's why we go in our attic, we go in our studio, and then we go home.
That's right.
I keep wanting to go on adventures and go ghost hunting. Actually, producer Ben was trying to get a ghost hunting thing together. It's August. I really think we should try to go in September.
I'm living vicariously through these stories right now.
Yes, it's very easy to, because like it makes me not like, it's just like, what's the win there, right?
Well, the win is the adrenaline. Believe everything.
Not us. I mean, for them, like
for them is they get a more everything's believable from now on.
You know what's unique, and I don't know if this is the same for you. I'm very comfortable not knowing things. Like some people, and I respect these people because these are the people that push boundaries, and these are the people that learn new things about the world. And we need these people. There are people that cannot live with an unknown. They have this desire in their chest to learn why things are the way they are, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative of those people because I'm the type of person that could talk for hours about what ifs, or maybe this, or maybe that. But I can so easily go to sleep at night. I don't know how the world was created. I don't know what happens when you die. I don't know what ghosts are. Like, I'm so comfortable with that. And not in like a lazy, like, I don't care to learn way. It's just like, I don't think I can.
Yeah.
You know,
my mind will implode.
like something like it's almost like, what do they call it, a SMART goal? The S,
Yeah.
like it needs to be easy.
It's attainable.
What's S? It's like it is SMART, so it can't be statistical.
No, it's I just went
one's
over this. Timely.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is like
measurable.
Figuring out whether or not how the world was created or where you go when you die.
It's not a smart goal.
It's not a smart goal. It's not. It's like, I'm never going to learn. So why, like, it's fun to talk about. That's what we do on this podcast.
Yeah.
But that's why, like, the people, like, people bag on Zach Baggins or like the guy from Destination Truth or whatever, like those big personalities. But like even people who don't have their own TV shows, people that go out and explore and try and learn and put themselves on the front lines. Because I mean, there's so many conspiracies where people like wind up dead because they learn too much, or you go somewhere you're not supposed to go.
Oh, that guy on TikTok.
Yeah,
remember that? Oh my gosh! But you know what's funny though? This is the stuff that we would be doing all the time. Like we would stay up late, tell stories, and discuss it.
Yeah. Now we just have jobs and families and shit. But all that going back to say, we should go ghost hunting with producer Ben September or something.
Okay.
Or October.
We'll see.
You really don't want to go?
No, I want to go.
I
want to go.
I know you do. But that was a great story, Leanne. That was well done telling her story. If you liked this podcast, this specific episode, if you're on Apple, you can leave a 5-star review. Let us know your thoughts. We will screenshot it. We will share it. We will post it on our Instagram stories and therefore
say like it's a threat.
Facebook stories, because Facebook just tags along. Like, post it here too. Yeah. It's like, fine. But if you want to comment on this specific episode and you listen on Spotify, like we know 90% of you are, you can comment on this specific episode. It says, what did you think of this episode? And you can comment in the first 100. Let me be clear. We can only post 100 of those. And that may seem like that's unnecessary information, but the very first episode, I think it was the super volcano.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, please comment on this because I want to see what happens. 121 of you guys commented on it. So 21 of those comments I can see, but I literally cannot post it. Like if I go to post it, it says error. You can only have up to 100.
I didn't know that.
So I apologize for the 21 that can't get their things put. Maybe I'll just cycle them through. Maybe I'll start deleting some.
Sure, yeah.
Get some other ones in, like clean up, not clean up, you're pinch hitting. But we still see them, we post them, and we appreciate them.
Yeah, and if you like this episode and you want more, we've always got Patreon content. There's a whole lot back there. A couple of years we've been doing Patreon, and it's just been growing.
That's true. You'll get what's going to happen, and you get what's happened, and that's since 2021.
Yeah.
We got fun quizzes. We have multiple quizzes. We quiz each other on episode topics. We get quizzed by producer Ben on our own episodes. We do director's cuts. We watch movies together. Google Hangouts. Giveaways. You get a pin. You can get a t-shirt. You can get a hoodie. Social media responses. So much extra bonus content. You know what I was thinking, because you brought up the mailbag Q&A.
Yeah.
We should maybe incorporate some of those questions. People ask us questions on those Spotify things. Like in the comments about the specific episode on Spotify.
Yeah.
Sometimes people have questions or theories. Maybe we can start bringing some of those into something.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, we don't really comment on them.
That's
it's kind
a good
of
idea.
after the fact.
Should.
So maybe we can find a way to bring those involved. Because people are taking the time to comment. I want to make it worth their while.
Mm-hmm. We should rope that into something. For sure.
I feel like we don't have enough going on. So
I know,
we should
right?
just add another thing.
Maybe not.
Son will be 18 tomorrow. That's fine. Not really. That was a busy
Time
joke.
flies.
But thank you everybody so much for hanging out with us and listening to this episode. As always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
A podcast as bizarre as you are.